Hello and welcome everyone. This is Phoenix with your Patriot Health Report for the weekend of June 21st, 2025. All the health facts you need to know for the Patriot on the go. Hope you guys are doing well and have been enjoying the Patriot Health Reports that we do every 2 weeks with myself, Phoenix, and Bob. Bob Gilpatrick of Boomers Forever Young. Bob's live on the line with us right now. Today we have a fascinating topic, and as you can see from the title, Super Agers. What exactly is that? Are we talking about the superheroes as they get older? Maybe you're the superhero. Let's see what Bob says. Bob, hello. Thank you so much for coming on again today with me and sharing this information. How are you doing and how are things going down there at Boomers? And do you have any announcements or information you want to share with us before we get into the topic?
Yeah, hello there, Phoenix. Everything's going well here on this side of Florida, and we did notice that the first hurricane of the year made landfall today in Mexico, in western Mexico,
Mm-hmm.
and a Category 3 hurricane, first one of the year, but nothing here yet so far. People are still cleaning up after the last one last year. So we're going to make sure there's no hurricanes in St. Petersburg at all this coming year.
Well, I hope not. After what
It's
happened
not.
last year, that was amazing. The amount of damage the nation suffered was outrageous. But it
Yeah.
happens. It happens. You know, I was reporting yesterday on PIR yesterday evening to my members about that hurricane that was to hit today, and which it did. And a lot of people don't realize, you know, it used to be anything in the Pacific was called a cyclone, and hurricanes were the same type of storm in the Atlantic. And a lot of people were confused about that and didn't understand. Used to hear, you know, like, what's the difference between a cyclone and a hurricane? Well, cyclones in the Pacific Ocean and on that side, and hurricanes are on this side, and that was the only difference. So now they've changed. I don't know if you noticed when they changed that. It's been a couple of years, but they just started talking about hurricanes on the West Coast. So anyway, a little bit of trivia there. It really doesn't matter. Anything else? I don't want to take your time up on our topic.
Yeah. So we put on a new sale a couple of days ago that we sent out emails to people about it and text messages, and lots of people really like the idea we came up with, which, a lot of times, Phoenix, we put some of our products on sale and we'll say, okay, if you get this product, our Boomer Boost, our barley, you're going to get this discount for a period of time. We decided this time to discount everything based on your order. So you can get a discount up to 20% on every one of our products. So, and we have a scale where if you spend $75, you get 10% off, $150, 15% off, and $200, you get 20% off. And a lot of people have been calling into our office to take advantage of that sale because they get to use it on whatever they want. And it also applies to people, which half of our customers, Phoenix, are on the auto ship program, and that discount applies to their auto ship as well.
Ooh, wow. You know, I've had interviewed you for many years now, and I've got a pretty good memory. I think I do. Have you ever done that? I don't think I've ever heard you do a sale like this. Am I
No,
correct in that?
it's the first time.
That's
Yep,
pretty
first
amazing.
time. And I'll tell you why, because it's the evolution of the software. Because more than half the people that get our products order them online by themselves, and they don't call into the office. And so the capability of your software to do that type of a tiered sale was just recently came about, where we could do it for people that were on auto ship as well as people who weren't. And so we hesitated to do a sale like that where the people on auto ship couldn't take advantage of it. But just now, with new code written for one of our special software programs called Recharge, they were able to give us that capability. So that's why we're doing it now.
Wow, that's pretty cool. Yeah, the advancement of AI and the different things we're seeing is amazing. Amazing. All right. Anything else before we get into topic?
No, that's about it for now.
Because the longer we go, the more we age, you know.
Yeah, unless you're aging backwards like people that use Boomers Forever Young products.
Well, there you go. Let's get right into it. Okay, Super Agers. What are you talking about, Super Agers? You talking
Yeah,
like
so this is based on a book that just came out. A medical doctor named Eric Topol, Topol, and his book is called Super Agers. And he and some colleagues of his coined a phrase that they call welderly, which is people who are elderly who are well. And
oh,
what they
okay.
mean by that is people that have gotten to be 80 years old and do not have any chronic diseases such as heart disease, diabetes, cancer, Alzheimer's disease, kidney disease, etc. And there are a small percentage of people that get to be that age that have no diseases at all. And so Eric and his colleagues, going back a number of years ago, decided to do a study, a genetic study, that was going to take 1,400 people who were considered welderly and test their genes to see what it was genetically that was allowing them to be well longer, this health span that they're talking about. So your health span is how long can you live in perfect health before you get a chronic disease of aging. And it took them 6 years to get enough subjects that fit that criteria. And they started the study. They ran it for many years. The average age of the person was 84 that was in the study. And they were very excited to find out what was going on with these people's genes, and were very surprised to find out that it was a big to do over nothing. Kind of
Really?
like,
Okay.
yeah, kind of like a neutrino. And there was nothing there. There was no difference that was significant in their gene set versus people who were very sick.
Hmm.
So they started looking at all of the other factors that might contribute to it. And it turns out that it's almost all lifestyle issues that are contributing to their wellness. And it was a very well controlled study. The reason they did it is that people over the age of 65 in the United States, 60% of them have at least one chronic disease,
Hmm.
and 40% have two or more.
Oh, wow. Wow. A lot.
And so, and the average person at 65 is on five medications. Right? So this is,
Seriously. That's
yeah.
crazy.
So,
Oh,
yep. And many, we're on a lot more. We've talked about Larry, my business partner, when I first met him, was on 11 medications. And he's not on any anymore, but that's very typical of people to be on 10 or 12 medications.
hmm.
And they call it polypharmacy. They even have a name for it. So,
Really?
uh,
Hmm.
so they were looking primarily at four different disease types: cardiovascular disease, and then they grouped together obesity and diabetes because they're so closely linked, and then cancer, and then neurodegenerative diseases like Alzheimer's disease. And so the first thing that they found was that these average 84-year-old elderly people were on average 30 pounds thinner than a person who had one chronic disease or more.
Okay.
30 pounds thinner. And part of the reason they were thinner is they were doing more exercise. But they also had very different diets. The other things they discovered was that the more education somebody had, the more likely they were to be elderly, and the more upbeat attitude that they have was also a contributing factor. And their social situation, how many friends did they have? Were they involved in clubs and volunteer groups, things like that? And there tended to be a very high level of social engagement with the elderly, which was one of the reasons it took them so long to get 1,400 people, because they were so busy doing things, they couldn't pin them down to come into the facility for their initial interview. They couldn't fit it into their schedule to be part of the study. These are
Wow, that's
84-year-olds.
amazing. Yeah, I'm too busy playing golf today. Call me tomorrow.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I'm going overseas for 6 months.
Yeah, that's
Give me a
cool.
call next November.
Yeah, yeah. The study just contacted the individuals is basically laying out the study right there. Anyway, please continue.
So uh, this was their basic findings, and then they went into, what is it that people can do to help themselves to have it more likely they'll be a person who's elderly. And one of the things that they didn't take into consideration here was in the top 5 things that cause people to die, there were 2 things that they didn't list. One was medication errors, and the other was death from prescription drugs that were properly prescribed.
Whoa. Yeah.
And so when you think about it, these elderly people were not taking medications. So 2 of the top 5 categories were not going to affect them because they weren't going to get prescribed the wrong medication, and they weren't going to die from properly prescribed medications.
Hmm.
So right there, you've got a 40% less chance of dying when you're too young to die, when you're not dying from old age.
Those are some pretty damning um, statistics right there. You got to admit.
Yeah,
Move.
yeah, yeah, and that doesn't count, all of the stuff that we discovered could happen to people in 2020. There's, in fact, there's literally nothing informative or new or novel in this book about that subject matter that's in any way, hopeful. And so what they do say is they said that what people can do is broken down into 2 categories. One is a specific thing to prevent a disease, and the other is, in general, overall, slow down your rate of aging, which makes it less likely that you're going to have an adult onset disease when you're 80 years old. Because if when you get to be 80, you've aged 25% slower than the average person, then really your body's only like it's 60. So at 80 years old, you wouldn't have one of these chronic diseases that people tend to get at around age 65. And so they talk about, the difference between those two things, where you can do specific things, for example, to prevent yourself from dying from cancer or becoming disabled or having cancer as a chronic disease.
Mm-hmm.
And they give an example of new tests that are out there that people can get that will tell them in minute detail if they have any cancer in their body at all. And they encourage people to take advantage of those types of tests that are now available for people. They also refer to cardiovascular disease and how we now have very detailed types of cholesterol tests, which are much more than just, oh, you have high total cholesterol, here, take this drug. We now have these differential subfraction tests that tell you all the different types of cholesterol that you have in your bloodstream and how much of it is oxidized and what are the ratios that you have these different types of cholesterol in. And being that it's very valuable to know those things because there are many different ways to affect uh, the different levels of cholesterol, including there are very good medications if somebody has a genetically inherited issue that is causing their cholesterol to be super, super high. And in those are cases where it makes sense to be under the care of a medical doctor if you have that genetic issue.
Hmm.
And then they talk about the difference of slowing your aging versus the prevention of disease. And here's where it begins to cross over. So they talk about inflammation, and they specifically talk about inflammation in regard to your immune system. And the author and his colleagues, Dr. Topol, contend that the majority of inflammation in your body is being caused by your immune system. And your immune system not functioning properly causes inflammation. And that is only true to a certain extent. Trouble with your immune system, yes, can be causing the inflammation, but then you have to look at what is it exactly that's causing the trouble with your immune system. And one of the things they don't go into, which is extremely important, is the issue of digestion. And they do go into what you're eating, meaning too much seed oil and sugar is not good for you and will cause an immune response. But they also don't go into the digestion of your food. And there are many millions of people that take medication for digestive problems, primarily gastric reflux disease. And they don't talk about the fact that people are not eating slowly. And we do know, for example, Phoenix, in Japan, people are very thin in comparison to people in the United States. And a big part of the reason is they eat with chopsticks. And they take in much smaller portions into their mouth. They chew for longer, and they tend to stop eating food. They tend to feel full 20% sooner than people who are eating quickly with a spoon as opposed to chopsticks.
I can see
And
that.
so, yep,
Yeah, I can definitely see that.
yep. And additionally, as people age, their system of secretion of digestive enzymes and also pancreatic enzymes that alkalize the liquid in your stomach as it's digested, creates a situation where food particles, digested particles, are entering into your small intestine only partly digested or in too acidic of a state, and it's causing an allergic reaction that is an immune response that creates inflammation. What they don't talk about, which I think is even more really what's going on, is when you look at the statistic about people being thinner by 30 pounds that were elderly, those people did not have diabetes. The people that have obesity, which is 60 to 70% of all the people in the United States, tend to have type 2 diabetes or prediabetes. And that, in my opinion, is causing even more inflammation than the immune response that they were referring to. And so, if people can get their inflammation under control, which you can do without curing your diabetes, you can have a positive effect, both from a preventive standpoint and a slowing your aging process standpoint on all of the diseases that they focused on in this study. Heart disease, diabetes, cancer, neurodegenerative disease. We already know all of those are precipitated by high inflammation. So they talk about new developments that might be coming soon in the pharmaceutical world that could help with inflammation. What they don't tell you is that you can take compounds that your body makes naturally when you're young. You make lots of them, and you can take them by mouth as you get older, which we know are the compounds like SOD, like trimethylglycine, like glutathione, vitamin A, C, and E, selenium, zinc. These are all antioxidants, and we know if you take them all together, your inflammation will come way, way down by a factor of 10, even if you can't get your blood sugar down. But typically, when people take those compounds, it not only helps with their inflammation, but it also reduces their blood sugar. And so the fact that they've identified inflammation as one of the primary things that is determining whether you're elderly or not, they don't really have a good answer for how to do it. And so that's what we've known for many, many years. There's been research on antioxidants, Phoenix, going way back to when, the Life Extension Foundation first started. And when we first started learning about proanthocyanins and, including pycnogenol, et cetera. And so what we've done at Boomers Forever Young's nutrition part of our company is made sure that in our sprouted barley seeds, in our product called Boomer Boost, all those antioxidants are in there. And lo and behold, people will check their blood work at the beginning to get a baseline and check it again a few months later, 6 months later, and lo and behold, the measure of their inflammation, that's an enzyme produced in the liver called C-reactive protein, has come down by 10 times. And they have just now effectively done the single best thing that they can possibly do for preventing disease and entering into the realm of the elderly. And what we see, Phoenix, is even if people are not in that realm, they're 85 years old and they've got 3 or 4 chronic diseases and they're on 10 medications, when they use these strategic products that we give to them, they actually reverse and go into the realm of the elderly. And we see it hundreds and hundreds of times we see testimonials submitted to us that are telling us about what they felt like before they started and how they feel 30 years younger now. And their doctor is amazed that their blood work has completely turned around and he doesn't need to see them again for another year.
It's amazing.
And so this is a good book, the Super Agers book. It has some good information in it. They talk about the use of artificial intelligence. The copyright is 2025 on this book, so it's fairly up to date. Another thing they talk about in this book quite a bit is the issue of mental health. And we've always said this, Phoenix, is you can take all the best nutrition in the world, but if you're still under a lot of stress, you're still going to have problems. People that are under a lot of stress have very imbalanced hormone profiles and develop all kinds of problems, from not having enough pregnenolone to feed certain production of different hormones, and all of it instead is going to service the stress hormone side of the balance. And we see people that have very, very good physical habits, but they're in a situation where they're being stressed by their surroundings, or they have an awfulizing type personality where the littlest thing becomes a stressful event to them.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we'd
like
like to do to help people with that, Phoenix, is make sure they have access to our website, where we have all kinds of really great do-it-yourself stress management techniques. And if people make their way there, they can not only take advantage of what we have for slowing the aging process, but also to put their mental health on a similar scale of excellence to what they can do with their physical body.
Excellent. Hey, Bob, we are getting close to the bottom of the hour here.
Yep.
And everyone, you can find Bob's website by going to PatriotIntelReport.com. Click on the lady in the blue lightning storm on the left-hand side. But Bob also has information for you, contact info. I wanted to share that with everyone, Bob.
Sure, you can call our 800 number, which is 861-4609. We're open Monday to Friday, 9 to 5 Eastern Time. If you're in the neighborhood on vacation or you live nearby, we're in St. Petersburg. We're at 5401 Central Avenue in St. Pete. Call ahead of time because it's not a storefront, but if you want to meet up with me, I'm here most days. You can call ahead and make a time, and I'll make sure that I meet you here.
Excellent. Bob, since we are running out of time here, why don't you give us your closing comments on this subject of Super Agers and, final thoughts, words of wisdom, and let's see how this all sums up.
Yeah, so in regard to addressing all of the issues that will result in a person not being welderly, there are answers for every one of those things now. People that are aging are losing muscle very quickly on average. They're also having their joints are going to wear out really quickly as they get older. And we can help people to maintain their muscle, in some cases, Phoenix, even better than when they were much younger. So you could take someone at 40 years old has lost some of their muscle, and at 80 have lost 5 times that much. We can help people actually get back to where their muscle was when they were 35 years old by using our Gladiator Barley, our product called Myotrol, advice on resistance exercise, which is on our website. And at the same time you do that, you're also strengthening your bones. And that's another big thing with people who are older. If they fall and break a bone, quite often it results in their death or a long-term disability. It makes it very hard on the rest of their life. And so let us help you with all of those things. Call our 800 number, go on the website, and just know that the real state of the art on what to do to be welderly is here at Boomers Forever Young. Books like Super Agers are a good general guidance if you want to really know what to do and let us help you execute it quickly and easily. That's why you want to get in touch with us.
Very good. Well, Bob, I want to thank you so much for this topic and joining with us today. Really fascinating stuff. And everybody, if you want to be a Super Ager also, give Bob a call or click on and go over to his website there. Again, Bob, thank you very much for this. And fantastic information, fantastic topic. I really appreciate it, and I know our listeners do also. Thank you.
You're very welcome. My pleasure, Phoenix. See you again soon.
I hope so. And we always have fascinating topics. If you like what you heard today, share it with somebody. Send this recording, send a link to this YouTube to a friend who may need to hear this. Jot down the information, take some notes, or you make it real easy. Go over to PatriotIntelReport.com, click on the lady in the blue lightning storm on the left-hand side, and boom, there you go. So that's it, everyone. Again, Bob, thank you very much. And that is it for this week's Patriot Health Report, everyone. Until the next time, remember, it doesn't matter what you have, where you live, anything, if you do not have your health. That's really, really important. So, be a Super Ager, everyone. Until the next PIR, God bless, and Phoenix and Bob out.